That's over now. We just...
Philosophy's over?
Yeah, it's over.
No, because if you look here, those are my comedy books, and then right underneath the comedy books, those are the philosophy books. Because all good comedy should be based on philosophy.
It's like a pyramid. This is the foundation of this.
Last year, I finally sectioned and organized the books. Like, this is entertainment, this is history. I got my, there's Voltaire. He's got a shelf. Mark Twain's got a shelf. Maupassant, Steinbeck. I'm a reader.
You're a reader. Yeah, I'm a reader too. I'm not quite maybe as sophisticated as you are, but I'll tell you the world that I'm living in. So in my office realm, and then I have some storage under the house realm, I'm in charge of how the books are arranged and what is where, and
you're allowed to organize your office.
And I have it, I had my albums when albums were a thing, record albums.
Oh, you mean like that wall of record albums?
So I would arrange those alphabetically by artist in order to facilitate my ability to be able to find an album that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So that's who I am. But my wife is a person who took all of the books that are in our house, which is a small fraction, maybe one of these bookcases. Is how many books we have in our house on display. We have more elsewhere. But she took all of those books and arranged them by the color of the cover, which is a thing that a scientist at UCLA friend of ours put her onto that. And the books look cool that way, but you can't fucking find them because two books by the same author are in different places. Two books that are on a similar kind of a subject, or the books that I like that I put together, like these are the ones that I want to read in this order. This is where they're now mixed in by color, and I've tried to unravel that, but relationships are tricky.
Relationships are tricky, and especially being married. And I thought it was interesting when I asked you if you could come over and record with me, and you said, "Let me ask my wife," and I realized that. That's something I don't have to deal with anymore. I don't have to arrange.
Well, it was. I am on my own recognizance for the most part when our daughter's at school. So during the day when our daughter's at school, I can do what I want. The problem is we have one car now.
Yeah.
And so to come from where I am to here, if I have the car, it's very easy. If I don't have the car, it's something that's got to get figured out. So I was going to ask her when I could get the car because that would make it easier.
I'm just teasing you, and your wife is an amazing woman.
She's nice.
From New Zealand. We hung out a few times when I moved here. That was the one thing I enjoyed about being married was getting invited on with other couples.
It's the truth.
Now I'm back to.
Well, it's tricky when you are a couple then to hang out with your single friends because who's supposed to talk to who, or how does it all? I don't know. Maybe that's not. I don't know. It's funny because when you're a couple, when you're married.
It's funny, and then you get divorced, and then your friends who are married, it's almost like you have a virus they don't want to catch. Oh, I don't want to. Oh, he's divorced. I might get some on my sleeve.
Oh, I don't feel like that. You're welcome at our house. If you want to come over for dinner, we'll invite you over for dinner.
Okay.
I always feel like my wife had a single friend that was also my friend, so it was a mutual single friend of both of ours. And we would try and invite her over, but she would not, she was busy doing trying to find a guy, going on dates and all that kind of stuff.
Sport fucking and all that stuff that you do when you're single.
Well, we're still of a generation where you don't discuss the sport fucking in a mixed gender crowd. I mean, maybe, do you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm an old man now. I'm talking about younger days.
Oh, you can't, don't ruin my fantasy of being single again. If I was single, I like to believe that I'd be out there, but I don't know if I have the energy. I don't know how you did it. You got a girlfriend again now, you said.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I know how you did it. I know, I've seen.
Yeah, things aren't so bad. So, yeah, I'm trying to avoid that topic.
We're on now.
We're recording.
Okay, right,
yeah,
okay,
totally.
Yeah, so we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah. But I wanted to talk to you about books and your favorite book.
Are you a book guy? Is your podcast all books now?
No, I mean I like talking about smart things. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, what is it? What life-changing information could you enlighten the listener with? Like, I heard Leonardo DiCaprio on Mark Maron's podcast the other day, and he was talking about working with Clint Eastwood, and he said Clint Eastwood eats salmon and spinach for every meal. I'm like, oh wow, there's something I didn't know.
For every meal.
Every meal. I mean, that's what he said. I mean, maybe he has a peach and some yogurt once in a while, but you know, tell us something we don't know, Jake.
Some about me? Well, I was thinking
about anything.
As we were coming, as we made this plan just yesterday to talking about things. It's interesting to me, this point in our lives now and our careers where, you know, it's much different to when you and I met at a point in our careers where we were kind of at the beginning of things. And I had already had a little bit of a start, but I met you before you had your sitcom, and then, you know, we had those experiences, and then we had all these being on the road, and I don't know all the things that have happened to you, but I know all the things that have happened to me, and it's now in my life, I feel like I have some perspective on how worried I didn't need to be back then, and how life is going to turn out differently than what you thought it was going to be, and that's okay. I think a lot of people, especially young people in show business, have this dream idea of what their career is going to be, and if that doesn't happen, they're a loser, and they'll think they're a loser, and everybody else will think they're a loser, and that's just not true.
It was great for me to leave Los Angeles for all those years, and I went and lived in Europe, and then I didn't live anywhere for 10 years. And I've always said that if you set your watch by Hollywood, you'll always get your feelings hurt, you know? And that's because it's a city that prizes youth, and there's a lot of different factors of who makes it and who doesn't. And as long as you don't set your watch by letting other people decide what is a success in your life, you know?
Well, and if you're successful, or if you're worth anything, or, you know, when you put your worth and someone else gets to decide if you're worth something, that's a problem. You got to decide.
Yeah. And
you're building your own life. I mean, your career is proof of that. The unique things that you've done with stand-up, traveling and doing all the shows and all the different places that you've been. There's nobody who's done something like that. There's other guys who've done similar things, but I mean, everybody's life is their own. And so we're all writing sort of this book of ourselves that at the end, you know, you hope it's interesting, and it's not like, oh, yeah, I went to L.A. and I banged my head against the same wall for 30 years.
Yeah. Well, and I always knew, like, when I was younger, you'd see guys that, you know, you knew around the country, and they'd moved to Los Angeles, and after they lived here for like 5 years, they've lost the sparkle in their eye. And I never wanted to be that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm grateful for what I have, and that I can, I mean, it's like, wow, you know, just lucky to be in this business and to do what I do.
Hang out with other funny people, go on stage. I mean, think about just the job of being a stand-up comedian. I get to go on stage, talk about all the things that I want to talk about that are of interest to me. I mean, they have to be funny and interesting to the audience, but I can complain about stuff as long as it's funny, and talk about what I'm interested in, and then bitch about things that are bugging me. And then at the end, everybody gives me a round of applause and wants to have a beer with me. Most people in their lives, they get 5 minutes into complaining about shit that's bugging them. Nobody wants to hang out with them.
Yeah, my uncle used to be a delivery truck guy for FedEx, and he used to say, Tom, just remember, when I show up to deliver a package, nobody applauds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You start your job to applause. Please welcome Jake Johannsen.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Yeah.
I mean, before you've even done anything.
Yes.
So, what do you think was the first book that ever really grabbed you and made you love books, or just go, God damn, wow, I'm glad I read that cover?
Boy, I don't know. Books. I feel like I'm a book guy from a long time ago. I mean, I don't remember not being into books and stories, and, you know, what I'm still kind of into the. I just finished the book that I've read that I finished most recently, and this was an audiobook that I had read the book of years ago, and then I revisited the audiobook, was Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. You ever read any Neil Gaiman books? Mm-mm. But it's kind of a magic book that takes place in the subterranean London. That's it's pretty interesting, and it just reminded me of some of those books. What was that book that? Not Bell Book and Candle, but you know those books that you read as a kid about fantasy, science-y, netherworldly stuff. I used to love Kurt Vonnegut when I was a teenager.
Oh, I
still love Kurt Vonnegut.
Where's my Vonnegut shelf? He's on there.
So I got to be in this movie of Breakfast of Champions.
No way.
Yes, and
that's the first Vonnegut book I ever read. I love that book.
I know, it's amazing.
This is what an asshole looks like, and they drew a little picture of an asshole.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Alan Rudolph directed it, and I had known him because I was in this other movie of his, and the amazing stars were in it, but. Kurt Vonnegut.
There's like a fucking car alarm going off.
I know. Problems. The city. Something's going wrong for somebody right now. Or probably
Somebody's
not.
committing a crime.
Probably not. Those
every
car
minute
alarms.
Of the day.
Well, it's off now.
There we go.
It's on. So Kurt Vonnegut came to the set, and I could have met him.
Wow.
And I didn't because I was so intimidated.
Wow.
And I couldn't allow myself to just be the guy. I felt like how many people have to shake his hand and tell him what he meant to them, and I
have that exact same story, but with James Brown.
Really?
I opened for James Brown in 1996 at the Canocti Harbor and Resort. It's like 2 hours north of San Francisco, and he was in his 60s. He wore like a lime green jumpsuit. He was still fantastic.
Yes.
And after the show, they said I could go backstage and meet him. And I froze. It's the only person I've ever had this feeling where he meant so much to me. Because I grew up in the South. I started on the Southern circuits. I still to this day play James Brown constantly. And when he was in prison in Augusta, I did a one-nighter in Augusta, and I drove my car to the edge of the prison, and I sat on the hood of my car smoking cigarettes and listening to James Brown's Solid Gold Greatest Hits, and just brooding, looking at the prison. How could they keep this genius locked up like an animal? I'm like, whatever, 20. And I had the chance to meet him. It's one of the few regrets I have in life that I did.
Yes.
But I didn't want to ruin my image of the man, of the young, virile. Looking back on it now, it's stupid when you're young and idealistic.
It is stupid. I regret the same. I have that same feeling of regret that I didn't.
Kurt Vonnegut.
I didn't allow myself to go over and shake his hand, just to be able to sit here and say that I shook his hand. So I was standing 30 yards away from him, watching him talk to other people who I knew. I could have walked over and shook his hand, and I didn't. And I think I was just I was scared. I was scared of it.
So who were you in Breakfast of Champions? Were you the asshole?
I was. Well,
I'm kidding.
Spoiler alert, I'm an asshole in everything I do. No, I played a guy who was, in kind of the spirit of Kurt Vonnegut, I played a character in the movie of Breakfast of Champions who was not in the book Breakfast of Champions. And it was the manager of Bunny Hubler, Dwayne Hubler's son, who's a musician. So I played his manager.
Oh my God! I do not have Breakfast of Champions. This is my favorite Vonnegut book is Galapagos, which he wrote later in his career. But Breakfast of Champions was the one I fell in love with. There's a Kurt Vonnegut library in Indianapolis now.
I tried to go there the last time I worked in Indianapolis, and you could visit the gift shop, and I bought a T-shirt, but you couldn't. The museum was not open.
Well, he used to have his typewriter on a low table, and he would sit in a chair, hunched over it. And his writing technique was he thought that you had to be uncomfortable while you wrote. in order to write properly. That you couldn't be too comfortable and relaxed. You had to be approaching it from a difficult position.
It's interesting. I would say that in the limited times when I've had to write thing, type things out, that the best experience is when you're so caught up in it that you don't think about whether you're comfortable or not. You realize later, like, oh, I was sitting weird while I was typing that. But that he would deliberately do that.
I've been doing a joke. I don't only if someone from Iowa is ever in the audience, because you're from Iowa.
Yeah.
Originally. When I was in Omaha last year, Omaha, Nebraska is right on the line with Iowa.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Omaha is not in Iowa, but it's right.
But it's right
adjacent.
Right across the river is Iowa.
If you go to Omaha, there's going to be Iowans there.
Yeah, always. Mm-hmm. So I flew into Omaha, and so I had people from Iowa in the audience, and I said that one of my favorite books of all time is Jack Kerouac's On the Road. And on the very last page of On the Road, Jack Kerouac says, I know by now in Iowa, they are letting the children cry in the land where they let children cry. And I flew into Omaha a couple days ago, and a few rows in front of me was this kid that was fucking screaming his head off crying. And his parents didn't do anything to stop it. And I knew those people were from Iowa because they didn't do anything to stop that kid from crying.
I'm not sure that I understand what Jack Kerouac meant, but I don't think that's what he meant.
Just that it's like farm people and they let shit happen, They're not going to run over and coddle, and soothe a child,
Yeah, they're not...
Like that time you cut your thumb off in the combine.
Yeah, well, when you're trying to get your kid now as a parent... There's a time where you're trying to let them have their feelings, and then there's the time when you're on a plane and your kid is freaking out. It's just like, look, expressing your feelings is great, but this is not. There's other people here. So
how old is your daughter now?
She's 15.
Oh, wow, you got a lot of sleepless nights ahead of you.
It's good. Well, everybody thinks that, but so far so good. Well, I don't want to knock on the table because the thing is on the table. You got me all sensitive. I'm scared to set my cup down. Oh, I just noticed this is a cup from your TV show. Nice.
That's one of the few remaining artifacts. That's what I got. I got a Mr. Rhodes coffee mug.
My pilot TV show experiences never got to the coffee cup stage. So, congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. So have you tried to get her into reading?
She's into reading. She liked to do, the Harry Potter books came out during her childhood,
Perfect.
but a little bit, they started before she was old enough to read them. And so my wife would read them to her, and then she would kind of be old enough when the movies started happening to watch the movies, but then she was not old enough. She couldn't watch the last movies until a few years after they came out, but she had still been through the books. I think my wife left some stuff out of the books, but my wife would read the books to her. Then she'd seen the movies. Then a thing that we got her doing when she was really young was we'd go to the library and get books on CD, audiobooks, and she loved to listen to the Harry Potter books or these books about these two girls that do kind of detective-y stuff called Ivy and Bean. She would listen to these audiobooks, and some of them she had heard multiple times, but she would sit in her room while she was doing other things with the audiobook on. So like she's just kind of taking a bath in a story while she's, putting her knickknacks away or organizing her sock drawer or whatever she's doing. So yeah, she's a book person. I'm trying to think of, so I was telling you she wanted to buy a copy of the Odyssey recently, and she says she's going to read it. She's got these ideas about she wants to read all the books that you're supposed to read. I can't.
Now I've got like 4 copies of the Odyssey, and here in the Rhodes Library, and I think I've made it as far as page 20.
Yeah,
it's it's that epic poem way that people wrote in poems, like Lord Byron. I tried to read his stuff too. It's all like in poem form. Mm-hmm. And you're just drowsy after a little bit.
Yeah, you can't. It's not for us. It's not written for people of our time, I think.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I like the academic analyses of Homer's The Odyssey. And I bought this in Istanbul, Turkey. These ancient pages from books, and that's from Homer's The Odyssey. This Hercules-looking guy is holding up a three-headed wolf or a dragon. What is it?
Yeah.
It's a wolf dragon.
Yeah, it looks like a wolf dragon to me. I mean, it's definitely hairy like a mammal, but it's got a weird lizardy kind of tail. And the guy is wearing a Greek outfit, but the writing on it looks... is that Indian
I
writing?
think it's...
or Arabic?
I think it's Farsi. A Persian friend told me. So I have some that are... Those are Arabic over there. See that?
Yes, I can't clearly see the text, but yeah, these are amazing. This is you've got a great place here. That's what I was just thinking about. I mean, I hope you won't take this the wrong way because I mean it as a compliment. But this is a great place to have them find your body someday. You know, they'll have a pretty good idea what's been going on.
Well, my apartment looks like a National Geographic gift shop.
Oh, do you? Oh,
I mean, aside from the books and everything. I mean, have you seen my samurai sword chopsticks from Tokyo? Those are pretty cool. So let's talk about what other books have meant things to you in your life. So you're into Vonnegut.
Yeah. The Kurt Vonnegut books meant a lot to me. Now I don't know if I was completely ready for this question. So now I feel awkward about the amount of time I have to think, and it's going to be quiet.
You just came here to talk about one book.
Well, I can't. Well, you had said let's talk about a book, and you had recommended a particular book to me.
Yeah, I've turned you on to this book. So I said, what's your favorite book, and do you want to come over and talk about it?
Well, you said, do I have a book that I want to talk about?
Yeah.
What's a book that we could talk about? And I said this book.
Yeah.
Shantaram. Because you had recommended it to me, and I think I talked to you right before I was going to Melbourne in 2016 to do their comedy festival for a month. And so... Melbourne, yeah. Melbourne. God, they're on fire right now. Australia.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yes, terrible. So I got the audiobook of this book.
Oh, you didn't read it.
You
cheated.
You're disappointed.
Really? So you couldn't make nice highlights like I have.
No, I wish I could. I wish I did. You can highlight audiobooks and go back and have the thing.
Look at that. So this book, I've talked about this a lot.
And you've highlighted all the way to the back. You didn't lose your steam.
I made it.
Well, hang on just
I've talked about this a lot on my podcast. So this is 933 pages.
It's 40 something hours of audio book talk.
So I highlight all the books that I read, and I told you we'll just kick this off since this is the Shantaram episode. I've talked about this book a lot on the podcast, and I told you this. I think you came over and I read you this, and then the opening paragraph.
Yes,
it's the greatest opening paragraph of any book, and this alone will make you buy it. It took me a long time in most of the world to learn what I know about love and fate and the choices we make. But the heart of it came to me in an instant, while I was chained to a wall and being tortured. I realized, somehow, through the screaming in my mind, that even in that shackled, bloody helplessness, I was still free. Free to hate the men who were torturing me or to forgive them. It doesn't sound like much, I know, but in the flinch and bite of the chain, when it's all you've got, that freedom is a universe of possibility. And the choice you make between hating and forgiving can become the story of your life. That's, wow.
And pretty true.
It's totally.
The great thing... This book is an amazing story, and then you could tell the guy, he talks shortly after that about being a poet and all these other things.
He wanted to be a writer, and
a philosopher. And there's a lot of this book where it's just flat out, he's just telling you his philosophy about stuff. So you're reading this story, and then all at once he just unloads some nuggets on you, and then it goes back to the story again.
Pure brilliance.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Sometimes that can be a little bit heavy-handed is the wrong word, but it's just a little bit out of the, like, it's almost startling because you're reading the book and then you're listening to the guy who wrote the book tell you some stuff. But
I like that. I usually every summer I'll choose a big book that I've wanted to read, and like I read this over the course of a summer, like 3 or 4 months, and I didn't want it to end. I enjoyed it so much.
Well, I listened to it while I was in Melbourne, and then walking back and forth to the shows and walking around the town during the day, or riding the bus to go meet someone somewhere. I'd be listening to this book,
and the goddamn hotels are in on it. The tall one added, "You can get ripped off just sitting in your hotel room and smoking a little weed. They do deals with the cops to bust you and take all your money. Safest thing is to stick together and travel in groups. Take my word."
Do you find that to be true? Do you find that they're out to get you all the time?
No, and when I go to like third world countries and shit, I don't fuck around. I mean, like I went to Mexico this time last year, and there was like a dance party drug festival going on, and this police pickup truck, Ford F-150, all the cops down in Tulum, it pulled up put the grill right in front of my chest. They're trying to scare the shit out of me. And cop gets out of the driver's seat, another cop gets out of the passenger seat, and with my 8 words of Spanish, I talked my way out of it. I said, "Hola, señor. Hola, señor. Mucho gusto. Yo soy Tom." And they're asking me some shit, and I heard the word hotel, and I said, "No hotel, apartmento." And I pointed over in the direction where I was staying. And the guy goes, "Drogas, cocaine, marijuana." And, the third guy gets out of the back. And then he comes up, and he says that to me. And I said, "No fumar, no bebo, 5 años sober." And they looked at each other and went, "Oh, fuck, this guy's sober." And they got back in the truck and drove off.
Nice.
But that's like I've had a few situations like that in Bali where cops wanted to be bribed and shit. But as far as like drugs or breaking any laws, fuck that.
Yeah, well, drinking and drugs, and that's what can get you.
In all of Asia, all those countries, it's punishable by death, like to have a joint.
Well, when you're out, and also, it's not a smart idea to be in another country where you don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, and now you're not in your top brain functioning state.
Yeah.
I mean, not to give grandpa advice to people, but look, be careful.
Well, do you remember that show was on cable about 10 years ago? Like, it was Americans in Mexico getting arrested, and they're all drunk going, "I'm an American, I know my rights." And the fucking Mexican cops are laughing at them going, "You have no rights. You're in Mexico. You know? Your rights are what I give you."
Yeah, we had a whole different definition of that here.
But these like Americans are down there like drunk and pointing their fist at. When I got to know him well enough, when I began to cherish his friendship, I discovered that Prabhakar believed with the whole of his heart that his smile made a difference in people's hearts and in the world. He was right, of course, but it took me a long time to understand that truth and to accept it.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. So, do you want to just keep talking about the book, or can I tell stories related
both?
to the
Yeah, I'm just I'm not going to read every highlight. I'm just going to read the highlights that have a star next to it.
Okay.
Because that means I really liked it.
Well, I will tell you that one of the things that I started doing a couple of years ago, also because of Russell Peters, is training jiu-jitsu. And it's an interesting thing to start doing in your 50s because you're vulnerable. And I didn't go in there and say, I just signed up. I'm just a guy. My name's Jake, and I'm here to do this, just like everybody else.
Why not just carry mace?
Yeah, well, if that's what you're... It's like learning to play the saxophone or speak a language. Doing a martial art you're learning a skill set from these guys. But it's a dangerous skill set, and you can get hurt if you behave in a way that's going to cause these guys to hurt you. They don't want to hurt you, but the young guys who go aggressive and get aggressive to see if they can beat someone who has more experience with it are going to get hurt because they're going to make a mistake, and the other person who's stopping them is going to do something that's going to put their joint in a position that it doesn't go, and because they've got momentum and their weight in the wrong place, they're going to get hurt. But I would say that my experience there with just being nice to people, what I've learned from being a stand-up and dealing with crowds and dealing with strangers is, for the most part, if you're nice and you know that ultimately you know who you are on stage. I mean, my approach with a heckler always is, I'm nice. I want to see.
That's what I do, and I try and be charming.
I want to see what the deal is. What's the deal?
Unless they say something really mean, and then you light them up.
Because you're nice, and so the crowd is on your side.
But charm and kindness is the best way to deal with it.
And the crowd's on your side. And then if they're mean, then the crowd's even more on your side. Like, he was nice to you to begin with, and now you're an asshole. It's game over. But I find that if you're nice to people, they're nice back to you. And so with these jiu-jitsu guys, I feel like I've made friends with people, and so there's some really tough, dangerous guys there. But because I respect them and I'm nice to them, they're nice to me, and they're helping me to get better at this thing. They're not trying to teach me a lesson about who's the alpha dog, and maybe it's because I've already surrendered that to them because it's like it's a no-brainer.
Well, they figure if they hurt you, you won't pay for next week's lesson.
Well, so the person, there is a little bit of that. Yes.
I'm just kidding.
What was it? Lank and Earl had that joke. Dead customer is not a repeat customer.
The past reflects eternally between two mirrors. The bright mirror of words and deeds. Add the dark one, full of things we didn't do or say. I wish now that from the beginning, even then in the first weeks that I knew her, even on that night, the words had come to tell her that I liked her. Right, that wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one.
Why did that one get a star? Okay,
it's the context of it.
Yeah.
Maybe you were really into it.
I was really into this book. You know, she said slowly, I like you. She started that green fire to me. She stared that green fire into me. I felt myself reddening, slightly not from embarrassment, but from shame, that she'd said so easily the very words, I like you, that I wouldn't let myself say to her. You do? I asked, trying to make the question sound more casual than it was. I watched her lips close in a thin smile. Yes, you're a good listener. That's dangerous, because it's so hard to resist. Being listened to, really listened to, is the second best thing in the world. What's the first best thing? Everybody knows that. The best thing in the world is power. Oh, is it? I asked, laughing. What about sex? No. Apart from biology, sex is all about power. That's why it's such a rush. I laughed again. And what about love? A lot of people say that love is the best thing in the world, not power. They're wrong, she said, with terse finality. Love is the opposite of power. That's why we fear it so much.
Yeah. I don't know about that one.
Well, you know, it's... So the story is, so he wanted to be a writer. He gets... he's living in Melbourne, Australia.
The story behind the story you're talking about now.
I'm telling the story of Shantaram for the people listening. And he becomes a heroin addict. And he's in prison in Australia, and he breaks out. And then he gets to India, and after his money runs out, he starts living in the slums. And with his Boy Scout medical training knowledge, he kind of becomes the doctor of the slums. So he kind of has this redemption story. But that's only like the first quarter of the book. And then he gets involved with the Mumbai Mafia. Starts, they're doing all kinds of shit. Counterfeit, fake passports, pornography. He's in the fake passport game. And then he ends up going to Afghanistan to bring weapons.
He kind of gets sucked in deeper and deeper to that dark underworld, but kind of willingly, unwillingly. You know, I mean, I think it's this progressive undertow that he gets caught in, right? as I remember. It's been a little while since I read the book.
Well, bad choices. I mean, everything's great, and then he's kind of the hero of the slums, and then he gets involved with the mafia, and then
this woman, she's not completely without. She's problems.
This is the German woman that he falls in love with.
Yes.
And it all takes place in India. And then he gets thrown in jail in India. There's like so many turns to this book. It's friggin'...
Let me tell you something. The audiobook, the guy who reads it is a great actor. He's got all the dialects because the main character is Australian. But then there's characters in the book that speak... The book's written in English, but they'll have Indian accents, or then they'll have Indian accents, but they learned English in England, so they'll have a little English lilt in them. It's a pretty amazing. I know it's cheating to listen to the audiobook, but the audiobook of this is quite good.
Well, see, you're sitting in traffic in Los Angeles all the time, so
yeah. Well, I'm trying to multitask. I'm even though we all know that's bullshit. You can't multitask.
Not with an audiobook and other things.
Well, there's few things you can do while you're listening. You can drive like if you're driving from here to San Francisco on the 5 and it's just you get on the road, you just keep going. Or if you're driving cross country on the interstate, you can listen to an audiobook. If you're walking around, I feel like if you're walking around just by yourself, sort of browsing and looking in windows and kind of just having a walk around a town, audiobooks are good. I love doing that.
I do that. I'll do that with podcasts and stuff. I don't know. I'm such a tactile person with books. I like turning the pages.
I can see you got you got a lot of books in here.
You got like over 4,000 books here.
Is it over 4,000?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of books.
And I was a writer in Australia. I'd written since my 20s. I'd just begun to establish myself through my first published work when my marriage collapsed. I lost the custody of my daughter, and I lost my life in drugs, crime, imprisonment, and escape. But even as a fugitive, writing was still a daily custom and part of my instinctual routine. Even there, in Leopold's, my pockets were full of notes, scribbled onto napkins, receipts, and scraps of paper. I never stopped writing. It was what I did, no matter where I was or how many circumstances changed. One of the reasons I remember those early Bombay months so well is that whenever I was alone, I wrote about those new friends and the conversations we shared. And writing was one of the things that saved me, the discipline and abstraction of putting my life into words. Every day helped me to cope with shame and its first cousin, despair.
Do you keep a journal?
I keep notebooks, joke books. Sometimes I'll write about like days that happen to me, but this is mostly just thoughts. And
you've got a pretty tidy hand.
I want to be understood. So
are you really? Are you hoping someone else is going to read these later?
My best friend and now ex-wife Ashna is helping me type these up.
Oh,
which has been, she's like the only person that could do it. That's a caricature of my new girlfriend in the book.
Mm-hmm. I like the leopard underwear.
So yeah, I always write in these books. So I've got like, I don't know, 65.
They're nice books, and you've also taped in some other...
Yeah, and these comedy festivals in Ireland started giving them to the comedians. So those are... They got your name on it.
Oh, this is nice. It's got your name on it. I've got one from a Kilkenny comedy festival, but
I've never done Kilkenny.
That's a nice one, but I've never done the other ones. I love Ireland, though. Now we're not even talking. This is not good.
Guilty of many crimes, of most crimes, to say the truth. But I have never claimed a cleverness that was not my own. Civilization, after all, is defined by what we forbid more than what we permit. Oh, you got lost in my...
I got lost in your book. I started reading your book.
Well, one day that'll be...
available.
Yeah.
For all of us to read. Will there be an online version? Do you have a blog? Did you ever write a blog?
No. I'll write descriptions for the podcast, and then sometimes I let it rip on what I'm going through. Mm-hmm. Imprisonment meant years without a sunrise, a sunset, or a night sky, locked in a cell for 16 hours each day, from early afternoon to late morning. Imprisonment meant they took away the sun and moon and the stars. Prison wasn't hell, but there was no heaven in it either. In its own way, that was just as bad. All right, well.
Have you ever been in jail?
I spent one weekend in jail in Little Rock, Arkansas, when I was 19 years old. And I'm glad that it happened because it set a major precedent in my life in that I would never commit a felony. I am strictly a misdemeanor guy.
Nah, that's some solid advice.
That's solid advice.
That's a good nugget. I don't know how many minutes we are in, but stick to misdemeanors, kids.
Stick to misdemeanors, kids.
Yeah,
no
those
felonies.
Oh, my God.
Fuck that. No, and it was Little Rock City Jail. So the first... So, do you want to hear the story?
Yes, I do.
One of my best friends from high school, our senior year of high school, his parents moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. So... when I first went on the road, I was doing the southern circuits. So when I would be anywhere near, like if I was in Memphis or wherever, I would slip down and visit my friend in Little Rock. So he had arranged for us to go out with a couple of girls that he knew.
19 years old. What year would this have been? What was the drinking age at that
89.
time? Drinking age in Arkansas? Probably 18.
Probably
maybe?
18 in Arkansas.
So you'd have been legal to drink that.
Yeah. So... there's the downtown Arkansas, and then there's a river, and then there's a big empty lot. And I'm sure that big empty field is now where the Clinton Library is. Because that's where you would build that type of thing. But back then, teenagers would go there and park and drink and kiss girls. So we had beer, and we're talking to these girls, and then like all these cop cars from either side came in, and they've got everybody boxed in. Nobody can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so all these cops are busting all these teenagers, and 2 cops came to us. And one cop took me and my girl to one side of the car, and the other cop took my friend and his girl to the other side of the car. And, you know, I'm from a military family. My cousin was a cop. Yes, sir, no, sir. Even in Spanish with those Mexican cops. I was, si, senor, no, senor. Cops are like children. You got to give them the yes, sir, no, sir, or you're fucking going down. Everybody knows that. They want
that display of respect.
Exactly.
They want it. They demand it.
And that is what you need to do. So I'm yes, sir, no, sir. And the words had just left my cop's mouth. Well, you can pour out the beer, and I'll let you go. Right when those words left his mouth, I hear my friend from the other side of the car yell, well, fucking take us to jail then.
Oh.
And then we all got to go to jail. And then they were all let out within the hour because they were all Arkansas citizens. And I was a flight risk. And I had to stay in. This was on Friday night. So
oh, my God.
I had to be in there until Monday morning. And they were right to keep me there because I would have flown like a motherfucker out of there. I'd have never gone back to Arkansas ever again. But the first day was okay. I was in the drunk tank the first night. And then the second day, they moved me to this bad people jail. And it was a big cell with like a picnic table in the middle.
And
too
just
many
a bunch of guys.
And a fucking toilet in the middle of the room. And, oh my God, I think I might have peed once. I was terrified. And I had an Averex jacket. And I had short hair. And so like, they kept saying, this black dude kept calling me, what you in for, Top Gun? He kept calling me Top Gun. Uh-huh. What you in for, Top Gun?
It's funny. It's funny. Top Gun.
Open container of beer.
Yeah. Having an asshole friend.
So
you got arrested because your friend was...
And that's what the judge said and the cop said on Monday morning. The cop was there and testified that I was, a respectful gentleman, whatever, and that it was my friend who had mouthed off. And the judge dismissed the case and said, Mr. Rhodes, my advice to you in the future is choose your friends better.
Yeah. So what about this guy? You in touch with him?
I'm in touch with him, but I think that was around the period when we stopped being really good friends. You know. I saw him years later. He lived in Atlanta. And, he's, interesting dude.
Never say Well, take us to jail then.
No. Mm-mm.
Never say that.
No. Have you ever been in jail?
No, I haven't. I almost...
So you don't have great stories like that?
No, I don't. I do. I did get, I guess you'd call it, is it arrested? I got a notice to appear. So I guess it was like being arrested. We were skinny dipping, but we had just put our clothes on, and we were in this apartment complex where I used to live at this complex, and then we were there visiting some other people who lived there. But the pool was closed, and we had jumped over the fence to go swimming.
I used to do that in high school at the Tuscaloosa Country Club. That was the nice neighborhood next to Oviedo. Twice I went there with girls, and we climbed the fence and got in the big Olympic pool naked.
Yeah, so this was that.
Great.
It was a party. And the police showed up, and if you got out of the pool fast enough and over the fence, they couldn't, cops aren't going to chase a teenager for it. But they caught me and a couple of other people, and I got a notice to appear. We didn't have to go in and be arrested that night, but they wrote a thing, and they said, look, you got to be in 8 a.m. on Monday, whatever night it was, Friday or Saturday. They said 8 a.m. on Monday, you got to appear before this judge. And I go in, and, I don't have a lawyer, but he says... were you in there? And I said, yeah, but we were at a party. He says, so you were guests of someone who actually lived there? And I said, yeah. And he says, because you're down for trespassing. And there was some, like, how do you plea? And I said, well, I don't understand. And he said, well, if you plead, if you say you're innocent, then you got to come back and there's going to be a trial and everything else. Or you can plead guilty, and it'll be on your record for a few years, but then I'll give you probate. You can leave, and it'll be on your record for a few years, and then it'll be expunged. And I said,
what about no contest?
Maybe it was no contest. So I said, I'll do that. And I said, you think that seems like
that means I have no opinion as to my guilt, and I put myself at your mercy.
Right. So it was like one of those things, and he had made it clear that I could go. And I said, is that because I didn't want to come back and have to get a lawyer or tell my parents or some other shit.
Yeah.
And even though I was 20 or something. And he said, and I said, is that a good idea? And he said, well, I can't give you legal advice. He goes, I can express amazement. So basically he was telling me, you should plead not guilty because you were a guest at a party, and you get a lawyer and this will be gone and it won't be on your record or anything else. But I didn't do that. I took the besmirchment, and it fell off the back end of whatever. I mean, and the other, if I'd have known then that I was going to drop out of college and become a comedian, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Tim Allen went to prison for selling drugs, and he became a TV star and a movie star. So, who cares about your silly criminal skinny dipping record? But I was true to your advice. It was a misdemeanor. It wasn't a felony to go swimming.
Stick to the misdemeanors, baby.
Stick to the misdemeanors, and get your pants on before the cops show up if you can.
Have you ever been to India? Did Russell Peters take you to India?
No, I went with him to Australia and Asia, but not India, and then Europe, and then he had a third trip to India, but I didn't go on that one. So I've never been to India. I'd like to go.
I've never been either.
I thought you'd been to India.
Never been to India. No. For a guy who was married to an Indian woman, that's hard to believe.
And I hear now there's a comedy scene there.
Yeah.
There's quite a comedy scene there.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone past bringing foreigners in to do their comedy scene.
They developed their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened in Denmark, in Copenhagen. The Comedy Zoo used to bring in English and American and Canadian acts, and then the comedians, local people figured out how to do it.
Yeah. And the audiences said, well, we'd like to hear local guys talk about local things.
There's something so confident and open-hearted and brave about America and the American people. I don't feel American, at least. I don't think I do. But I'm comfortable with them, if you know what I mean. More than I am with any other people, anywhere. Okay, well, I don't know why I put a star next to something.
Well, I think that's a thing that you hear from foreigners about Americans and optimistic. You hear it from British people and New Zealanders. My wife's a Kiwi. about America. We believe that we can do things, and we believe that the government will change, and that there's a brighter future. And I think there a lot of other people from other countries are more cynical based on their experience of their politics and whatnot. And maybe we're becoming more cynical now based on our politics here. I don't know.
I remember I was on a train in England going, from London up or somewhere in the Midlands. And these two guys got on, and they had mangy dogs, and they were mangy dude. They looked like they had slept outside. And I was talking to these guys, and told them I was American, and the guy goes, "I hate Americans, always trying to be their best."
Well,
yeah, I'd rather fucking sleep outside and not make any effort.
Yeah, well, we're a country full of people who believe that it's all going to turn around tomorrow. Tony Robbins, you become your best self. All these helper guru guys that are out there now.
I liked him until that documentary. I thought he looked like or no, it wasn't a documentary. It was when he was pushing that girl's back. He was.
Oh, the thing he was giving her. He was kind of trying to push her button to
intimidating her, backing her up.
Yeah,
which is a big bully fucking dick move.
Yeah, it seemed like a bully dick move.
When you own your own island, as he does, you shouldn't try and be intimidating to smaller, weaker creatures.
Yeah, and
we all have our bad days.
We all have our bad days, but I also think there's something to that tough love guru thing. There's a maybe it's none of our business because we're watching some consensual thing that's happening behind closed doors. But then when she says, "Look, I didn't sign up for this," okay, but who am I to judge what's going on in that room? I have plenty of people. I'm sure that's not the first time he's done that stuff to people, and then it's not the first time that 10,000 people have seen him do that kind of stuff. And a lot of times it results in some kind of breakthrough thing for a person. But when you looked at it, it just seemed like that's some bullshit right now. He's picking on a vulnerable person. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, and he was saying that women shouldn't empower themselves by trying to take down men, which is obviously a conversation he had with other powerful men. It's like, who is he to make that decision? Stick to the self-help guru shit. Don't you tell me what I can stand up for in my life for what's right or wrong. I appreciate the motivational skills and shit like that. There's
I hope she got a full refund.
There was a friend of mine's mother got divorced like 20 years ago, and there was a box of her shit, and it was one of those Tony Robbins courses.
Uh-huh.
And it had like 6 CDs in it. And I listened to it. And it was actually really great, some of the stuff that he said, that you should exercise first every day.
Uh-huh.
So you've already accomplished something. And then you exude good health. There's something about your skin and your radiance. And that will also attract people they'll want to do business with you, rather than somebody who looks kind of sleepy and might have had too much to drink the night before. So like there was little tidbits like that.
I think he's got some good ideas.
Like that, I think, is totally right on.
I've got a friend whose idea, who's married, and he says his favorite thing is to try and have sex early in the day, because then you already won. Everybody else out there is trying to get laid all day long, and then it gets nighttime and it starts to get desperate. You already won that game walking out the door in the morning.
You got
same idea.
You got to tell your daughter this.
Well,
I'm kidding.
Oh my God, she is able to Google with the best of them, so it's just a matter of time before she listens to this conversation.
I couldn't imagine being a young person now.
I told her I was going to do a TikTok.
Yeah, are you going to get on there?
And I thought she was going to crap her pants. The idea that I would be on TikTok. Wow. I signed up. I did one. I did one on my podcast because I was talking about maybe I was going to do one. And I said maybe. So
what is it? You do little videos? Or
it's like a little video.
9-second
like
videos?
It's more. It's like 15 seconds or something. So it's not as.
And then the algorithm pairs you with other things that you like?
Somehow it gets propagated out into the world. I didn't even go back on. I signed up for Snapchat, but I couldn't handle that. It disappears in 24 hours. So if you forget to go on Snapchat the next day, you don't know what anybody else did to respond to your thing or whatever.
Why do people need to see me with puppy dog ears and nose? I don't know. Well, it's all a desperate. We're all trying to get people to come to our comedy shows. That's all I want to do. I hate Twitter. I love Instagram.
I love Instagram too.
Because nobody's going to get pissed off at a sunset.
And Instagram seems like, hey, I'm showing you a picture of something that I like, or I'm telling you hey, I'm going here, I'm doing this, or I'm having a good time, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I'm sharing with you a thing, it's a positive energy. Twitter feels like everybody is ready to argue with everybody else.
Yes. I call it the hate faucet.
Yeah, it's tough. Facebook, I think that's really where everybody else is interacting with that's where probably the people who know who we are. But Facebook also can seem like it turns into an argument if you look at it too closely. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I don't know.
Okay, Shantaram.
Yeah, back to Shantaram.
Optimism is the first cousin of love, and it's exactly like love in 3 ways. It's pushy, it has no real sense of humor, and it turns up where you least expect it.
I don't know if love doesn't have a sense of humor.
He's saying optimism.
But he says it's a cousin
Yeah,
of
it's
love.
cousin of love. That's true. Okay.
Be interesting to go back and see how many of these highlights you stand by now.
Yeah, it's true.
And there might be some other things that you might highlight.
I might have
now,
been too. I'm reading Napoleon the Great now, which is also like 950 pages. It's epic. I won't talk about that, but...
And had you read that before? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
and I didn't realize he came to power right at the tail end of the revolution.
Uh-huh.
I thought he was like 50 years later or something. He came to power.
I guess I didn't know that either. He came in...
And he came to power basically by murdering his own people.
So they threw...
There was like the people were running around rioting and killing people from the different parties, and there was a riot on a bridge, and he just opened fire and killed like 360 of them. So like the revolution had got out of control, and for like 10 years it was known as the Terror. It was just blood everywhere. And after he murdered all those people on the bridge, there were no more incidents on the streets of Paris for 30 years. So at first they wanted revolution and real change of the oppression by the royal,
they wanted to get rid of the monarch.
By the monarchy and the church, but they went immediately with a dictator because I guess they realized they wanted law and order more than anything.
Ugh.
After things got out of control.
Well, our revolution was patterned on their revolution, wasn't it?
No, our revolution.
They were similar.
Their revolution came 10 years after ours. They were like 1783. Wasn't that less than 10 years? Yeah.
But didn't they financed ours a little bit, right?
They did finance ours.
That's interesting that the monarchy financed our
because they were at war with
revolution.
England forever.
Yeah.
What are some of your historical obsessions? Like for me, the French Revolution, the Battle of Little Bighorn. I got some The Life of John Dillinger. I got some strange historical obsessions.
What's the historical book that I had read the most recently was I read some Lewis and Clark stuff. I like that opening of the West. I've read a few. God,
you know they only lost. They only lost like I think one man died on the Lewis and Clark expedition, and then they only had to kill like 2 Native Americans in like the whole journey. It's pretty remarkable that they went all that way and charted this new land for Thomas Jefferson opening up.
Well, because they hired legit, at least one of them was a legit frontiersman, you know. I can't remember, one of them was sort of a depressed Washington guy. I can't remember which Lewis or Clark was that guy.
So I think it was Meriwether Lewis he was kind of the real hero and adventurer guy, and Clark ended up being fucking a nobody. He made some bad business things, and I think he committed suicide outside of St. Louis. He was like, he died in obscurity and he committed suicide.
And he was a depressive guy even before the trip. Yeah, so I
don't want any more salmon. See him on the trip. These Rockies are difficult.
Clint Eastwood, on the other hand, wants salmon every day. Yeah, I like some of that. I'm always a fan, too, of those British explorer, you know, what's his name? Richard Burton, not the actor, but the guy who went down and explored Africa, and Livingston, Shackleton. Do you know the Shackleton story? Oh, that's an amazing. There's a book of the diaries of the guys who were on his ship. So his ship gets locked in the ice in the Antarctic. They can't get.
I know that story.
They're caught in the ice, and eventually they can't get out. In a year, they think it's going to thaw and he's going to be released. But then the next year, it doesn't thaw enough for the boat to get released. And he's like, okay, like they spend a year camping on the ice next to the boat that's stuck because he's like, just be cool. We got supplies.
Wow.
We've got these sledges. Just be cool. So he keeps his men all cool for a year. They camp on the ice. The ice is going to thaw. We're going to fuck. And the ice, it doesn't thaw out. So he goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get off the boats. We're going to we got sled dogs and sleds, that we were going to explore the Arctic, but we are not on the continent. We're on the ocean. But we're going to take the sled dogs and we're going to drag these boats. They're not lifeboats, but they're like open boats that were on the side of the ship that they're on, that they were going to use to go back and forth to shore or whatever. We're going to drag one of these open boats, and we're going to take the dogs and the sleds to see if we can get to land or where we can get to. So they get to the edge of the ice, and it's like a mushy, slush sea. And he goes, okay, we're going to eat the dogs. We're going to eat the dogs, and then we're going to get in these boats, and then we're going to...
And see the dogs look at each other going, we just dragged you 100 miles.
Yeah, what the fuck? This isn't what we signed up for. So they get in the boats, and then they get to this whaling station. They make the longest open boat journey across the open ocean ever, and navigate like they hit this tiny island. And if they miss this island, they're just gone. They're lost. It's open ocean forever. But they have a map. They know this island that they're going for. They get to the island, but they hit the beach on the wrong side of the island. So it's too dangerous to try and get back in the boat and sail around the island. So they climb up. So they go, okay, some of the guys wait. We make the boat into a shelter, turn it over on its side. You guys stay on this, see if you can catch some fish. I think it's 2 or 3 guys climb the mountain. Shackleton's one of them. They get to the top of the mountain, and they're going to go down the backside to this whaling station that they know is there. And they get to the top of the mountain. It's fogged in. They don't know how they're going to climb out. They're going to die, though, if they don't go down. So they coil the ropes up or something, slide down the other side of the mountain. They make it to this whaling station. They walk in, and Shackleton knows the guy. Who they walk into the place. And it's like, hey, we need some help. And he has to tell the guy who he is because he doesn't even recognize him. But all of them survive. All of his men survive. It's this amazing story of leadership and just grit that these guys, and the way he chose his men, which is all in this book that's based on their diaries. There's been a bunch of books written about this.
I think I have a book about this.
But the one that's based on their diaries is great because it's all the different sailors' kind of perspectives are combined, and then the author tells the story and quotes these different parts of it. But the way he chose the guys on this trip was based on not just the all-stars of the skill set that he needed, but people who were team players who could operate in a group. And he had a couple problems, with people revolting or kind of not pulling their weight or doing their fair share. But for the most part, he was able to keep them organized and on plan and lead them through this series of crazy, like, what the hell are you talking about kind of decisions to wind up where they all survived this ordeal. So that Shackleton expedition is one of the things that I love. But I love all those British explorer things, like guys in tuxedos in a room with a ornate globe, smoking cigars and drinking cognac, and then one of them's going to go like, I'm going to go find the source of the Nile. And I'm like, okay, we'll see you in 5 years, and you can do your TED talk about it in this room. I love those. Yeah,
they had those explorer adventurer societies in England, and that was it. You come back and you give a lecture on.
Yeah, or they finance the trip. You pitch them. This is what you're going to go and do and explore.
Right.
Captain Cook. I love the Captain Cook stories.
Captain Cook. When I was in Sydney, Australia. This joke is on the Sydney track on my new album. So we had the issue with the Confederate Confederate statues in the South. People were saying you should take
Yeah.
them down. So I was in Australia at that time, and there was an issue in Sydney where people think these Captain Cook statues should be taken down. And there was a Captain Cook statue in Sydney that had been defaced, and it was on the news, and people were making a big stink about it while I was there. Mm-hmm. And I was saying that Captain Cook was murdered in Hawaii by Hawaiian natives, and I don't think you should take the Captain Cook statue down. You should just put a bunch of statues of Hawaiian natives sneaking up on him with spears all around the Captain Cook. That would be funny.
And it was a misunderstanding that they were having, and he was trying to get in the boat to go back to his ship, Captain Cook, when they killed him. And the surf was kind of high, and the boats were trying to leave, and he couldn't swim. This guy who went around the world and discovered in a ship, he couldn't swim, and he drowned.
Wow. Who drowned?
Captain Cook.
Captain Cook was murdered by Hawaiian natives.
Well, they were trying to murder him, but it was mostly because he couldn't swim. If he could have swam, he could have got in this boat.
But they stuck him with spears and shit.
Yeah, but he was trying to.
In your version, he drowned.
In my version, he drowns.
Okay, well,
he drowns. He can't. The reason he dies that they are able to kill him is that he couldn't swim.
So you would have been the one person in the audience in Sydney who wasn't laughing.
No, when I'm watching you, I just shut up and enjoy it. That's my advice. Look, if you're going to commit a crime, stick to misdemeanors. If you're going to watch Tom's show, shut up and enjoy it. If you want to discuss with him afterwards, you can say what you want. And I'm sure I'm full of bullshit about this Captain Cook. I'm pretty sure he couldn't swim, but they beat him up. They killed him.
I never heard that. Any other knowledge nuggets you can delight the listener with?
Have you ever had, durian fruit?
Oh, in Malaysia and Singapore, there's signs on doors and businesses that it said, no durian fruit because it's so smelly.
You can't bring it in. Did you try it?
No.
So when we were this was on the Russell Peters trip, I tried durian fruit, and they give you these like plastic gloves like the nurse wears when she's going to give you an injection to eat it with, so you don't get it on your hands.
Wow. And
it's squishy like tapioca that inside of it, so they split it open, you kind of take the goop out and mush it into your mouth, and it's a little bit everybody says it tastes delicious, but I found it to be ass pudding. It was just
really?
Not. I didn't enjoy it. It was a no thank you.
Wow.
In my opinion. So now there's another one for you. Say no thank you to the durian fruit. Maybe not. I think you have to try it.
The fact that I've never had any interest in it. I've seen it in Asia a lot, and I got no interest. Okay.
What's the joke? Try everything once except for. Do you know that one?
No. What is it?
Try everything once except for incest and folk dancing.
That is hilarious. Okay, should we read a couple more quotes here?
Sure.
They were poor, tired, worried men, but they were Indian. When any Indian man will tell you that although love might not have been invented in India, it was certainly perfected there. Okay, all right. I was a little too generous with some of these stars, I think.
Well, you were really feeling. When did you read this before or after you married an Indian woman?
Way before. I mean, I read this book 15 years ago. Yeah. And apparently they made this into a television series that's on Hulu or somewhere. I heard that Johnny Depp had the rights to this and tried to make it into a movie, but okay.
I feel like this is one of those Peter Jackson type of epic.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Shogun kind of miniseries. You need a miniseries to do this.
Lynn, a man has to find a good woman. And when he finds her, he has to win her with love. Then he has to earn her respect. Then he has to cherish her trust. And then he has to, go on doing that for as long as they live, until they both die. That's what it's all about. That's the most important thing in the world. That's what a man is, Yar. A man is truly a man when he wins the love of a good woman, earns her respect, and keeps her trust. Until you can do that, you're not a man.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm doing that. You can never be sure if you've got the. I mean,
what if you and that good woman just decide?
I've got the love.
What if
I've got
you and
the
that
trust.
good woman decide you just want to be really good friends?
Well, it's amazing that you've been able to do that.
I'm the luckiest guy in the world to keep
You've been
a
able
loving
to do that
friendship
a few times
with my. Yeah, I'm friends with most of the women I had very long relationships with. Well, all of them, but to have a loving friendship, and Ashna's helping me with some writing projects, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
What's your secret?
To start a relationship in love the way you ended it. And I watched that Marriage Story the other night.
I can't watch that
Oh my
crap.
God. And they're going to a divorce and they get lawyers and it's like, oh my, I'm so grateful. Because it's like all the ugly shit about divorce and the guy's yelling nasty shit at her. And oh my God, it's just like.
So many bad choices, but that goes back. You got the choice. You can, it's forgiveness or hate. You know, if you can't forgive, if you can't focus on being kind and compassionate towards people who you don't understand, or when things get difficult, if you don't default to kindness and try and be forgiving, if you try and get aggressive and dominant and win, to submit through strength, that's the path of misery, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I can never not love Ashna. She's just one of the most important people in my life, and I never want to not know her. Also, so I would never be mean to her. In the course of our relationship, especially when I was drinking, we got into a few arguments and things, but it wasn't like that movie Marriage Story where the guy says some really bad shit. I mean, they were.
You say so.
There's bad things come out in arguments, but when the nitty gritty of us breaking up and us being friends today, I've got her back, and I know she's got my back, and I would never be mean to her, and I just want to help her succeed as I know she wants me to succeed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that is a rare and beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So most people that end marriages end up
adversarial.
Yeah, and I think as a survival skill, thinking they need to do that. But I think that's the opposite of what you should do if, there's really nothing to be angry about.
Well, yeah, and anger too is not, it's not doing you any favors to be angry. I mean, I think a lot of people think that it's weak to not be angry, but it's actually, anger will devour you.
Yes. No, I know that. My bad feelings I have towards my brothers often takes up a little too much of my mental effort.
Do you do some imaginary conversations?
No, just think. I'm doing better now after the holidays and hanging out with my mom and talking to her. But my mom often says, hate kills creativity. So you got to keep that in mind. Here's a highlight. They'd lied to me and betrayed me, leaving jagged edges where all my trust had been, and I didn't like or respect or admire them anymore. But still I loved them. I had no choice. I understood that perfectly. Standing in the white wilderness of snow, you can't kill love. You can't even kill it with hate. You can kill in love and loving and even loveliness. You can kill them all or numb them into dense, laden regret. But you can't kill love itself. Love is the passionate search for a truth other than your own. And once you feel it, honestly and completely, love is forever. Every act of love, every moment of the heart reaching out is a part of the universal good. It's a part of God and what we call God, and it can never die.
See, he says some shit about love earlier that you read that you think, oh, what is he talking about? What page is that?
That's page 740.
So if that doesn't make sense to you right now because you're listening to this, keep in mind that you've been reading this book for
That
a
makes
while
perfect
before
sense.
you get to that.
You can't kill love, and I think that matches perfectly what I just said about Ashna.
Yes.
Like, I truly love her from the beginning and now, and, you can't kill love. Perfect. And what are your thoughts on love?
I think love is it. That's what you're looking for. You're looking to find people that you love, spend time with people that you love, and find things that you love to do and music that you love to listen to and things that you love to eat, and be around those things that you love that bring you joy. That's what life should be about. And if you're miserable, you got something you need to get rid of. That's all, and not in a kill it or trash it, just like walk away.
Do you still go to the New Orleans Jazz Festival every year?
I do. I missed a couple of years. In the last I missed 2 years, one because I was down in Melbourne and one because I was on tour with Russell Peters. But otherwise, for 25 years, I've not missed one. And I'll be there this April. Although, I'm starting to wonder if there's a new way to experience New Orleans as now I'm at this, I'm not old, but I'm also not interested in staying up as late and going as hard after to pursue the good time. And so with that in mind, I think it might be fun to go to New Orleans at a different time of year. Although one of the things that I love about Jazz Fest is I go with this group of friends, and that's when they go. And so
you go with like Will Durst and all those people, right?
Yeah, and Mary Jo Pritchard, or Bannon is now the name that she goes by, and Juliet from up there in Northern California. Now we've got friends in Portland that go, and other people. So part of it is, a big part of it, half of it is being with those people for that week. And then the other half of it is the things that we're doing, and the thing, where are you going, where are you eating, what music are you going to see? Yeah. So if they all decided to go on a different week, I could entertain that. But I just love New Orleans. I love just the joie de vivre, the priorities on, that you only live once, and when you're dead, you're done. Let the good times roll. That means something to you when you're 20, different to what it means to you when you're in your 50s. But
once your back starts hurting you.
But still, I mean, I feel
and you don't like being around big crowds anymore.
Yeah, I'm not interested in cramming myself to the front to get the best view of the guy playing the saxophone. But I still want to stand in the back and move around with my friends and go to the places where the people are playing the music that I like to hear. I still love that. So.
I'm due a trip to. I haven't been to New Orleans since I stopped drinking, and it's been 6 years now. But we used to go there all the time. I've got some of my closest friends in life live there, and it's just an amazing city.
Yeah,
just the Frenchman Street and all the music,
and it's so
stay off of Bourbon Street.
Stay off of Bourbon Street. Even Frenchman Street now, which is
getting kind of touristy. Yeah,
it's not a secret. It's not a secret, but that there's great music there. But that gets to be a little bit, when it's 2 a.m, it's like, okay, this is getting a little too weird and drunk now. But you can go to New Orleans. I didn't drink this last trip. We went with our daughter at Christmas time and had a great time.
This past Christmas, you
yes,
were there. Nice.
Yeah. It was terrific. Yeah, it's just nice. The food and the people and the music and the.
What is the best joke you've written lately?
Oh, man, I'm trying to. Can you? Do you want to do jokes on here? I feel like
why not?
My jokes now.
I gave you my bad Iowa joke.
I know, but you knew that was what you were going to do. I'm trying to think about the jokes that I'm doing now and what joke it is I can't think of the joke that I'm in love with now, but I can tell you something that I said in my act that was a joke that applies to what we were talking about right now that I stand by now, and that is, if love was easy, there would be almost no music.
That's true. That's beautiful.
Now, I think now I'm just trying to talk about. I am trying to talk about connecting to people and how we're sort of lost and angry in the world right now.
Everyone's so pissed off. I called this last Christmas the angry Christmas. It's just like everybody in the country seems to be pissed off.
Well, we're so divided and adversarial. I mean, politically, the idea that if someone voted for the other guy, you hate them.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, maybe that's not the best way to be walking around all day. Let's just think about what, like, we don't have. You can not agree with them, but you don't have to hate them just because they voted for the other person.
Yeah, and that's where we are now.
That's where we are. Yeah.
I've been saying it comes from a conversation I had with my niece at Christmas that none of us should identify as Republican or Democrat. We should only identify as friend, brother, son, husband, or the female equivalent, and stop treating each other like enemies. Yeah. Why have we put so much importance on the way you vote instead of, it's the way democracies thrive, with compromises between conflicting opinions and finding the best ideas that work for all of us. But, that's fucking hippie talk.
Well, but the media thrives on the media, and social media thrive on eyeballs and attention, and conflict gets attention. And so that's what it feels like to me, is that there's a huge incentive, not necessarily intentional on the part of these, but they want eyeballs. And so what gets eyeballs? The argument gets eyeballs, So we get divided, and we get turned into, we're either watching an argument or participating in an argument, or watching in an argument that then we're replicating in our own lives. And then half the time you realize these people on these shows, these news shows that you watch arguing, they're going out to dinner with each other. They're able to talk to each other. But the citizenry, why are we arguing with each other? And politicians are not able to even sit down with meals. They used to be able to sit down with meals with each other, but they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It just is wrong. Okay, here's a joke that I have about this anger. I blame the media because they've split it into our news and their news. No matter what your political opinion is, there's our news and their news. And most of us watch our news because it's for us. And our news is designed so you watch a half hour of our news and you're pissed off. You're like, look what the fuck they are up to. But if you're in a real hurry, you should watch their news, because it only takes 2 minutes. But you're like, Jesus Christ! And you get out the door and get on with your day.
Yeah.
But it is, and I try not to, in that thing, talk about, like, it doesn't matter who we are and they are, because that's the problem. We all relate to ourselves as us, our news. Everyone relates to it as that. And then other people are them. And so no matter which we, our, us, you are, stop theming everybody else.
Yeah, well, interesting times. I think, once the shooting starts...
well, hopefully, I don't know. Is that what's going to happen? I don't think we want a revolution, because then it's going to be like, it is going to be...
It's not going to be a civil war with people against either side, like lining up armies. It's going to be like fruitcakes going on shooting sprees at different...
or this Napoleon story. I mean, that you're going to wind up with it, and I hate to say that sometimes you look at our politics and the way things are getting handled, we're heading towards the guy who's the strong dictator.
Well, and throughout history, I've got this Wisdom of History course by Rufus Fears.
Rufus?
Yeah, he's dead now. He's my Justin Bieber. I love this guy. And he talks about through history, democracies have all been short-lived. That the human nature never changes. So we have the same human nature people had during biblical times. During the Roman times, people act out on jealousy and greed and hatred, but also the good things. Love and kindness and compassion. But the course of history is most people, they prefer a strongman dictator throughout history. And even like Napoleon he thought the ideas of the French Revolution, he would be spreading them, but like peasants in Spain mutilated French soldiers' bodies. It's often the people that you think you're going to be liberating are the ones who are the most nationalistic, who will chop up your dead corpse because they hate your ideas so much. Interesting.
It's one of my favorite moments in the movie Dumb and Dumber is where Jim Carrey is trying to give CPR to the guy. He's eating the hot sauce in the restaurant, and he's trying to give him CPR, but the guy is not. He's conscious, and he's trying to push him off, like, get off of me. And Jim Carrey is trying to give him CPR, and he keeps going, "You're resisting me. Stop resisting me. You know, I'm trying to help you." And the guy's like, "Fuck, I don't need your help. I don't want your help." And that's, I feel like politically, a lot of times, the United States, we're trying to help people who are like, don't help me.
I like how you just took my Rufus Fears university course of the wisdom of history.
And I turned it into Dumb and Dumber. Well, the reason that I do that, Tom, is because I've got a feeling that not all the people listening are as smart as you.
If you saw Gremlins 3, you'll remember. All right, this is the last couple of highlights from Shantaram. This is good. This is the last 2 pages. This is from page 932. Every human heartbeat, he'd said many times, is a universe of possibilities. And it seemed to me that I finally understood exactly what he'd meant. He'd been trying to tell me that every human will has the power to transform its fate. I'd always thought that fate was something unchangeable, fixed for every one of us at birth, and as constant as the circuit of the stars. But I suddenly realized that life is stranger and more beautiful than that. The truth is that no matter what kind of game you find yourself in, no matter how good or bad the luck, you can change your life completely with a single thought or a single act of love. This guy spent a lot of time talking about love.
He does.
Okay, and then this is the very last paragraph.
Oh, can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead. This is page 933. This is the last paragraph.
And I think I think I want to say that this ends with you've drawn in with the highlighter. You've drawn a heart with little radiating lines,
little radiating
light
beams
coming
around
out.
the heart. That means I really liked it.
For this is what we do: put one foot forward and then the other. Lift our eyes to the snarl and smile of the world once more. Think, act, feel, and our little consequence to the tides of good and evil that flood and drain the world, drag our shadowed crosses into the hope of another night, push our brave hearts into the promise of a new day with love, the passionate search for a truth other than our own, with longing, the pure ineffable yearning to be saved. For so long as fate keeps waiting, we live on. God help us. God forgive us. We live on. It's a good ending. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
You're supposed to say spoiler alert.
I don't do that. I've ruined so many books and movies for...
I don't think that ruins the... I mean, by the time you get to the end of this book, if you can remember that... Oh my God, there's so much stuff happens in this.
See, now instead of listening to the book on tape, people are just going to listen to this podcast. And those are the 6 best quotes. And
I can't, well, no. Look, that you've only read a fraction of the quotes. And then you've only read a fraction of the highlights that you've got in here. This is why. Do you do digital books? If you do digital books, you can just go right to the highlights.
No, I don't do the digital books.
Ever? Never? You never do that?
No.
You're a...
What am I going to, instead of all these books, I'm going to have a bookshelf with just a hard drive on it?
Well, some people mix it up. Sometimes I'll get a digital book on my device, my phone. I'll be reading a digital book on my phone. And then sometimes I'll have an audio book on my phone. The library, you can check digital books and audiobooks out of the library.
Actually, most libraries now, those great courses that I love, you can the name of the company is called The Great Courses, and they're actual university courses on every topic.
And I've gotten some of those from my subscription to Audible.
Audible also has them.
Yeah.
And Rufus Fears is my dude. That's the one that did the Wisdom of History.
Is it Fears or Spheres?
Fears, Fears.
Rufus
Fears.
I'm going to check him out.
He was the history professor at the University of Oklahoma, and I was going to have him on my podcast about 8 or 9 years ago. I looked him up. I Googled him, and he died in 2009 from a heart attack. But
so you never got in touch with him?
No, he was dead after I. But thank God that his university courses were recorded.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
He's just this nerdy, plump, lovable guy who
in Oklahoma
who gets off on history. I can't tell you how much I love this guy.
Yeah,
I drove around America listening to him, and I got these DVDs of I just found those the last time I was in Omaha at Half Price Books.
Do you like Dan Carlin?
I've tried to listen to a few of those. I've enjoyed.
He's his own thing.
I've enjoyed some, and some I haven't.
Yeah.
And some of the I listened to the Genghis Khan ones. There's a few topics that I'm really into that I listen to. You know, he's okay. I mean, I don't think that you try and do something and you talk about history and people go, I did a Genghis Khan thing and some people said, well, Dan Carlin did that. Well, that doesn't mean that I can't also still enjoy.
It's history.
Yeah.
How many books about Lewis and Clark or Ernest Shackleton?
Did Dan Carlin go to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and play at the UB Comedy Club twice, like I did? I slept in Genghis Khan's 13th century campsite. It's 3 hours outside of the city.
Really?
Yeah, and in one of those little round
yurt.
They call them gurs.
They call them gurs.
Yeah, I don't know why the rest of the world thinks they're called yurts, but in Mongolia they're called gurs.
Well, it's interesting because we don't care what other people call it. I mean, why do we call it Spain and they call it España? Why don't? I mean,
why do we spell Brazil with a Z and they spell it with an S?
Yeah, I don't.
There's a lot of shit that doesn't.
How dare us?
Yeah.
But then again, white people.
Yeah.
Go figure.
And white people do what they want.
Yeah.
So, this is probably the last time two older white guys have done anything important in Hollywood.
Well, it's hard for me to really feel like anything I'm doing is important, but I'm flattered. I'm flattered to think that we can think that this is important for this short period of time. It's so nice to come over, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I always loved you and looked up to you. Here's something I've never said to you. My grandmother, she liked dirty jokes. I remember her telling me dirty jokes when I was a kid. But she was from, I guess she grew up in the teens and the 20s.
Uh-huh.
And there was this, I don't know, like a rhyme thing that she would say, and it was an expression or a rhyme or a song from back in that period, and it went like this: "Mama, mama, look at Jake, wiped his ass on a buckwheat cake." Have you ever heard that before?
No.
And I always thought that was really, that was before television and radio. They didn't even have radio then. Mm-hmm. They just came up with dirty limericks. But
it's interesting. The name Jake was not. It's very popular now amongst a certain
great man's name.
Yeah, I think it is.
Jake Johannsen?
It's been a great name for me so far. But it's been interesting in my career. I never got to be the most famous Jake. There was always for a while there was a TV show called Jake and the Fat Man. So people would when they found out my name was Jake, they'd be, "Oh, where's the Fat Man?" And then there was Body by Jake, that Jake Steinfeld.
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake, the wrestler. Then I'm trying to think. I think the next, and then now it's Jake Gyllenhaal, or for a while it was Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know who the most famous Jake is right now. But when you have a name that's just a little bit different, there's the famous the thing that someone says to you about your name all the time. You probably don't have that with Tom.
I have a nephew named Jake, and
no, with Tom, with your name.
Yeah.
Is there a thing that happens with your name, famous Toms, or do you get a Rhodes? Is there a Rhodes thing that people want to put on you
I think
all the
Tom
time?
is a pretty great name, and there's a candy bar in Europe called Mr. Tom. It's like a peanut brittle bar. Mm-hmm. It's pretty tasty.
Like a Payday?
In
Payday's
France, there's a children's bag. You find it in newsstands, and it's called Surprise du Tom. Tom Yum soup.
There's those weird shoes, the Tom's shoes.
Yeah, and the guy, those are inspired by the Argentinian gaucho. When gauchos are relaxing and they take off their boots, they put on those soft shoes. And the symbol of Tom's is with the two light blue stripes, which is taken from the flag of Argentina. So I've never owned a pair.
No, me neither.
But I've never owned a pair of Crocs. I've never owned a pair of Toms, and I've never had a goatee. And
I had a few Crocs for a while, and I've had a goatee.
Okay,
but no Toms.
Now you just got the Greg Allman flavor saver thing.
I've been on that. Soul patch is what I call it, and that's my what I say. It's like after
soup catcher.
37 years in show business, this is what's left of my soul. Is this little patch of hair right under my lower lip.
Well, Jake, and I love you, man. It's always good to hang out with you. And is there any words of wisdom or advice you'd like to give to the people?
I think I've shared some of my wisdom so far. I'm not gonna try and add. I'm not gonna try and gild the lily. I think we've got many such journeys are possible. So we'll see each other again.
Right,
it's not over.
How about closing with your favorite street joke?
Oh man,
do you like Terrence Trent D'Arby?
Yeah, he's all right.
He changed his name to Sananda Maitreya, and he lives in Milan, Italy.
No.
And I've become friends with him. He's been on my podcast. What? And the new music in my podcast, my new theme song, is provided by Sananda Maitreya. So that's his beautiful voice on my theme song.
Oh, beautiful.
So I've just started using it, and this is one of the first episodes that it's appeared on.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. People are probably hearing it right now.
How about a street joke? You got your favorite street joke?
So a friend of mine just told me this one. So two priests get pulled over by the police. And the officer comes to the driver's side window. And the priest driving says... Sorry, officer, what's the problem? The priest says, sorry to bother you, fathers. We're just out here. We got a roadblock set up. We're looking for a couple of pedophiles. And the first priest looks at the second priest and then looks back at the cop and says, we'll do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, look, it's hard to think of street jokes when someone just... But
I thought of an old joke I hadn't thought of years, and I've never heard anyone else tell it. I remember hearing this when I was a teenager. So Laurence Olivier is going to give a performance of the greatest written works of the English language at the Royal Albert Hall in London. Place is sold out. Everyone's wearing tux. It's a black tie affair. And he starts out with a little Shakespeare. To be or not to be? And then someone yells out in the audience, Larry Oliver! Larry Oliver! Do that Montiggy Moni song you do so well. And the place is, people can't believe it. This man has interrupted the greatest actor, Laurence Olivier, with this crazy statement. And Laurence Olivier, the professional that he is, he shakes it off. And he goes into no man is an island unto himself. And then the man yells out again, Larry Oliver, do that Montiggy Moni song you do so well. The place is aghast. They can't believe it. Laurence Olivier is a little shaken, but he continues. And choose whatever third quote you want to choose for this joke. And then he starts again, and then the man yells out, Larry Oliver, do that Montiggy Moni song you do so well. And finally, Laurence Olivier cracks. He can't go on a second. He walks to the front of the stage, irate, angry, with the veins popping out of his forehead. And he says, my good man, how dare you interrupt the greatest works in the English language? And if you must know, in such a sacred environment, on such a hallowed occasion as this, and if you must know, the Montage Monnier song has no words to it. And there's a long pause and the man yells out, well, show us your dick.
That's a comedian's joke.
That's a comedian's joke. I heard that when I was like a teenager.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have to pee.
Okay, Jake. Long may you run, but long may you pee.
This is going to be a long one, and I'm not going to show you my dick. I'll do this by myself, and you can wrap this up.
One of the things that my European wife disliked when I would catch her going to the bathroom with the door open, I would point at her and go, European.
Do you remember Ray Booker? Do you remember Ray Booker?
No.
He had a joke where he's in the bathroom and somebody says he's wearing a scarf or an ascot or something, and somebody goes, European. He goes, European? About his scarf. And the guy goes, no, I was a peeing. Now I'm washing my hands.
Nice closer. Jake Johannsen, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, amigos, amigas. And long may you fill your brain with love and knowledge. Hey, let's put a little love in this world, people. I'm on a mission to be less of an asshole for this entire decade. Mwah! A kiss for each of you.
Tom Rhodes, you're a funny man. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedian. Tom Rhodes, karate kick, baby, oh yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're a groovy dude. You go all around the world, telling jokes to all of the people. You are an international comedian. You're funny to everybody in every single country in the world. Tom Rhodes, I like you very much. I think you're talented and very wonderful. Tom Rhodes, you're the best guy in the world. I wanna be your friend. You should call me sometime. Here is my phone number, 603-644-0048. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedic sensation. Tom Rhodes, I like to listen to your podcast. Tom Rhodes, you're the best man to ever walk on the earth.